isolates the Kaid, able to go for one tap. It's gonna be another one tap for him. It's gonna be the ace.
He gets owned. Ooh. He gets two. Are you kidding? But look at where Predator's playing at. He's coming in right from behind. That's 4 for Predator.
Play, here comes Cancun. He spots the Ash. He gets the Nomad as well.
Ace, Ice Cold runs up above. He needs to find the last one. And Ice Cold, what a shot!
Getting one, now getting two. Looking for two more. They're gonna line up for him and he's gonna get it. Meat stick out of nowhere.
Good morning, everyone. We welcome you to the second day of our Columbus Invitational for 2023. And it's just like old times, Jonah. We're back together to take a look at some more collegiate action in the round of 16. Our venue playoffs here for OSU. And up first, we've got OSU Gray against Cincinnati.
Yeah, good to be starting the best of 3 portion of the weekend and, well, the elimination portion of the weekend. Yesterday was just that group stage. It was just that round-robin style of play where everyone's kind of feeling each other out, and everybody moved from Saturday into the venue playoffs today on Sunday. But this is where it's kind of all on the line, right? You lose, you go home, you win, you move on, and you have a chance to move to the combined playoffs, which happen tomorrow, and that's where really the prize money starts getting dished out. But like you said, we've got Ohio State B or Ohio State Gray taking on Butler, 2 teams who had mixed results throughout the day yesterday.
And one big part of a component of Ohio Gray's success has got to be Big Boosh on the roster. I mean, I'm hearing Carry Rocket. I'm hearing he's the airlift. He had a 20 bomb in a game loss. So you could count on him, even if it's a tough situation, he's still going to be there for you. And the rest of the squad, they got good discipline. I've been watching them on their cafe game so far. They feel comfortable. Then on the other side, you're up against Cincinnati. They've been tested. They had a troubling game against UMBC that didn't go so well for them. Here's an opportunity to get rejuvenated moving into the rest of our event.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, right? Looking at the depths of both of these rosters, it'll be interesting to see exactly how things begin to take shape. And like we've already mentioned, this is a best of 3. Everything yesterday was a best of 1. So more so in this format, it's going to be a bit more rewarding to identify the tendencies of your opponents and find some way to directly counter them. In a best of 1, you don't have that much time, right? You're more playing the map, you're playing your game rather than catering to your opponent and trying to directly counter them. But here in a best of 3, you've got a little bit of cushion, right? If you don't win that first map, it's not the end of the world. You can come out, take your map, take that second map, work your way to map 3, take what you've learned from those first 2 to deliver the victory. But a lot of questions that need to be answered, and hopefully here on Chalet, we will start to get to the bottom of it.
Well, if you are being a betting man, you might end up rooting for Butler here when these 2 teams faced off in Group 1 yesterday. Butler took the victory 7-5 on Villa, and from what I heard from OSU Gray, they were a little shaky in that match. They were still getting kind of accustomed to being here in the LAN environment. And here's an opportunity for them to play with some more urgency and to show that they can dominate inside the best of 3 environment. I've been seeing consistently that OSU Gray are going to remove that Nook. It's an operator they don't want to worry about.
Yeah, the Nook is someone who can just be so frustrating as a defensive team when going through your early round setup. It's like, oh, I'll just reinforce this wall. I'll just make this rotate. Maybe I'll work my way upstairs to support my friend on an extension. All of a sudden, a Nook will just come rolling through. Didn't have a chance to spot her on cameras. You barely heard her creeping around, and all of a sudden you're dead. So taking her off the board will definitely be comforting, especially for Ohio State as they start things off on the defensive side. But as far as the rest of these bans are concerned, nothing too surprising there. We don't usually see the ace taken off the board. Generally, you're going to favor something like the Flores ban, or if you're getting a bit more creative, like a Jackal ban. But removing those Selmas will start to limit the range hard destruction ability that these attacking teams will have.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the Solus ban as well. It's been an oppressive operator in our current meta. When you have got these collegiate teams that are always in a rat spot, you need your drones. You need to have that economy there, and when it isn't, somebody's flanking. I mean, I've seen it happen so many times. We had a Caviera get a triple kill flank yesterday just because he went unfound, and that's the kind of thing that you need to expect here. However, if you got that factor off the board, more drones, make sure you're guaranteeing your control with something like a Gridlock or a Nomad there as well. And then you go on the other defensive side, Azami as well, makes the defender's life a little harder. You know, you can't set up some of these more advanced positions. You can't have a kunai factory going somewhere that's just making a pillbox, essentially.
Right, those kunais can be so frustrating for attackers, again, to have to encounter, because what you thought was a standard clear could all of a sudden get derailed by a surprising power position that those kunais can establish, right? We all know the common spots to put those deployable shields, and those have pretty specific positions, such as the top of those those library stairs, but those kunais can really change the game, so having those, again, removed early in the ban phase will make Butler's life a little easier. They still will have to work their way through plenty of utility, though. We've got 3 deployable shields in play on the side of OSU Gray, and they're going to have to be careful because there are some Kapkan traps, some EDDs spread across this map.
Yeah, so not only do you have to worry about taking your gunfights with OSU Gray, but there's also traps that are out there as well, creating a bit of a diversion. It'll be library over as we kick off here on kitchen and dining, as Butler are going to bring in kind of your standard operators that you would want for this take. The ace band in effect here, you're going to have to rotate onto the thermite. I kind of like that ace band. It's a little gutsy. Butler taking some firepower away from the offense.
Right, that gun that he totes, in addition to that gadget, extremely powerful. So keeping it on the thermite, the 5.56, that'll be where Raikai has to make his move. But we've got Big Boosh on the hunt right now, creeping his way around through bar stock and opening things up in this series with a kill onto Gravy. That's exactly the way this defense wanted to begin, because now they have a threat that Butler have to figure out how to deal with. They have a Kapkan lurking down below, and Butler have to make a choice. Do they want to divert the utility, the manpower needed to take care of that Kapkan, or do they want to continue to go towards the site and ignore the Kapkan for good?
It'll be Enham for the cut. The Zofia preparing to step interior. Still monitoring the angle. I think Big Boosh may have heard the audio cue, and he will drain another, taking both soft destructors out of play here, and Butler are certainly going to need some help. There's another one. Big Boosh is starting the day's events off quite early. It's another pickup found by the OSUB roster. Oh my god, that one almost went sour for Big She, but he's able to rectify it in the end. Still needs 50 seconds to find 4 kills.
Working his way down towards short here, looking towards dining, hoping to find something going, but yeah, no, it's not likely to go too well. Getting torn apart here in this 1v4, this first round, certainly heavily favoring this Ohio State side, and you've got to give most of that credit to Big Boosh for single-handedly dismantling this Butler attack before it could really begin. That library over clear, taking that map control is so important, but with that comes risk, Reese. It leaves you exposed to certain positions, and as we saw, Big Boosh took full advantage. So last 5 seconds, Big Chi just winding out the last second of the clock here, hoping to maybe get a kill or two to pad the stats, but it's not going to happen. And OSU Gray will lock in that first round.
And I think the biggest, most glaring issue, Butler knew he was down there, and they sent man-by-man individuals down there. Not really any drones, not really any flashes. They didn't try to pinch or double-team him. They just let Big Boosh do Big Boosh things, and you need that discipline here against a roster like OSU Gray. Butler, if you're going to ban Solus, you better make sure you're using those drones.
You need to stay a bit tidier than that.
Yeah.
Right? You need to find these pesky defenders. That's right, what makes really every map in Siege so dangerous to approach on the attacking side. Because while you may have a very concrete plan in mind, as an attacking team, you've got a specific destination. You know how you're going to get there. All of a sudden, you're going to have to be able to pivot and adapt on the fly when the defense throws something surprising at you. That's exactly what Big Boosh did there, and that is exactly why OSU took the round so easily. Not to say that had Butler gotten up to the site and actually up to the execute phase of the round that it may have gone any differently, but we never even got that far because Butler, they got caught in transition. They all got exposed one by one.
All right, well, with that being said, OSU Gray, now having completed their dining round, are going to choose to send us down to the basement. Operator composition for Butler, just swapping out the Buck to bring a bit of extra hard breaching, and it'll be Thatcher EMPs followed. Maybe try to trick it too late, though. Big Boost was just a few frames late on getting that Electric Claw sent through. No harm, no foul, though. We're all expecting big wall open here.
Yeah, getting that garage open is usually inevitable. Just a matter of time, and as far as the defense is concerned, just as much time they can waste every second they're happy to secure. Gives them a bit more maneuverability around that basement site and allows them to be a little bit more comfortable knowing where Butler are coming from, knowing what Butler need to do. Once again, map control is going to be the focus, though, for this attack, and they are working their way, at least partly, on this top-down clear. A few defenders stand in their way, namely Mamba on the Jaeger, who we saw a moment ago lurking up above on that piano side, who has, I believe, started to back off a little bit towards the site, playing a little bit safer, still managing to waste some time, but not giving up his life. Very important.
A little bit more of a well-rounded approach here for Butler. They're moving in systematically and making sure that OSU Gray's extension is going to go ahead and be sent back down. Mamba gets picked off, but it's Big Boosh on the returner, and he's got the thermite, so it'll be hard breaching duties left of the Hibana. And still Nate Flix is up here and working the angle, and Toaster simply walked up from blue. Butler not being aware, not having coverage, and just allowing OSU Gray to creep back up areas that they had seemingly already cleared.
Yeah, 3v3 now as Big Chi will get the equalizer, but this one, like you said, Butler needing to backtrack a little bit, needing to worry about where these defenders are coming from, maybe a potential flank lying in wait. You see one of these defenders on the other side of that top floor, but the other one, the Frost, just sitting here out in the open and goes for the swing to collect 2 kills. The alibi will finally get felled as Big Chi was very concerned with that flank, with the position of Nate Flix there, but it really, again, doesn't matter all that much because, once again, Big Chi is left alone in a 1 versus 2 on incredibly low HP and has 2 very healthy and well-positioned defenders to chew his way through. Only 20 seconds remain in this round and not a lot of hope for the Thatcher. Spotted out once again by the Frost, and a triple kill on the round to secure it for OSU.
Just some trouble early in the game with discipline for Butler and maintaining their map control, allowing OSU Gray to come up the blue stairs so fragrantly, not holding that angle. I mean, Butler, I think, are going to need to drop somebody out here and bring in a little bit more flank watch, because that's not something you can allow. You got to keep the leash tight on OSU Gray, otherwise you're going to have different players moving. They didn't even really get to any kind of soft destruction phase, so 2 attack rounds that really failed to get past that mid-round hurdle is something they're going to need to correct before it gets out of control.
As we mentioned earlier, Reese, though, this is technically the little bit of cushion that Butler can afford. We obviously don't want to get into that territory where they can't afford it, right? A couple of rounds from now, if this continues to go the same way, then we'll be having a different conversation. But right now, through the first 2 rounds, OSU Gray, they've exploited a similar weakness in this Butler attack, right? They're exposing a couple of gaps on the flanks, a couple of maybe information gaps, right? When you're trying to establish that web of control around the map as an attacking team, you're sending those drones out, you're trying to cover every inch of the map, and OSU have been able to avoid them. If I'm Butler right now, I need to think of an adjustment to make other than those drones to help me out, because it's not enough, right? Maybe bring those air jabs on the Nomad. Maybe just get creative, bring out the Zero, throw out those Argus cameras, get a little bit more intel to help you deal with these pesky defenders that keep giving Butler so much trouble.
I think it just needs to be the comms have got to tighten up for Butler a little bit. Everybody needs to understand the checklist, needs to know what's the next step in the plan. Because right in that mid-round, it sort of felt like somebody got lost there. Gravy steps into a frost mat. It looks like he's got the buck outside the window, so hopefully we'll be able to get in here before any damage does arrive. I don't think the Frost knows about it. Nobody in the immediate area. We'll see the drone come in just to be absolutely sure. Wouldn't want this one to turn into a haymaker.
Well, looks like that revive will get secured safely. Big Boosh, though, is not too far away. Hanging over in dining could make an impact from there. Once more, if Butler do not drone him out, clearly feeling comfortable and getting active. That's what OSU are doing really well right now. Through 2 rounds, their gun skill right there, maneuverability clearly outplaying Butler, so they can feel confident to take these swings. You're going to see Mamba taking this gunfight rather than dropping away to safety. A good headshot there onto Jonesy to claim the opener, but Mamba's not done yet, looking for more.
There's a ton of damage, a lot of hurt coming out onto the Butler roster. They are just not able to return the favor. More and more burn will continue to go. Lifeline grenade soon to arrive, and I believe the shield goes boom. However, that might not matter, because in the meanwhile, Mamba has picked off another target, and Butler, again, an inability to control the trade game. It'll be the Jaeger for his 3rd of the round. Raikai steps into a mat, and it's left to Gravy. He's not got enough health to bail his way out. It'll be the jump from piano window to try to realign here against the Jaeger, but Mamba is ready for it. Gravy says goodbye. He's going to try to get out of here and approach this one from a different position, but it's going to be a tough one no matter how he tries it.
Yeah, 1v5. Only thing he can do now is hope to deny the flawless round from OSU Gray, because here on your Chalet attack, need to be finding some more success than this for Butler and have to find a way to get back on their feet. I think this is a reasonable time to maybe actually use their attack timeout, but at the very least, have Gravy just sit down, take the next 20 seconds to talk things over about how they want to tidy up these attacks. In round number 3, right in this round, Library was the problem. They wanted to go for that top floor clear, as is essential on a bar and games take. The one thing they forgot is that if they're all going to work their way through piano, if they're all going to try to clear from that master side of the map, then those defenders originally positioned in Library can sit there for free. You need to pressure those library windows and at the very least make players like Mamba sitting here in Library just tucked in the closet, make them feel pressure from all sides.
And just a troubling start. As you say, the timeout, it's well called here by Butler, so they will talk it over and decide what's going to be the next step for them. Some looks of desperation come from their bench. It's hard not to feel that when you're up against a roster that is so pervasive like OSU Gray and have just been running roughshod over you so far. Big Boost and Z-Jock have been making Chalet their home, and Butler just kind of getting caught in a couple of quagmires here so far, not able to really get themselves afloat.
Well, so far, quite the weekend for Ohio State teams as a whole. Of course, hometown favorites, right? Yep. I'm sure you've got a couple of people lurking around the arena trying to cheer them on and watching from home. But, you know, we're here at the OSU Game Arena facility, so we are here in their home territory, and clearly it's given them a bit of a buff, because not only is their B team doing well, right, 2-3 yesterday isn't fantastic, but coming out already against Butler, this is a great way to start. Their A team, OSU Scarlet, they came out and went undefeated through pool play yesterday over at our Hilliard location. So again, OSU playing very well, clearly playing confidently, and I gotta say, from what we've seen so far, playing pretty coordinated.
You know, Jonah, we all understand how devoted the fans of the Buckeyes are, and I was talking with John, one of our other casters, yesterday, and I was saying, you know, I expect once playoff comes, OSU Gray are going to have buses of fans lining the streets of rowdy Buckeyes who are here to support their boys. So far, OSU Gray have been able to do it without any supporters. They're just playing their own game, and Butler are getting caught in a big web.
Back to kitchen and dining. Butler have to make an early choice. How direct they want to go here and how much top floor control they're going to bother securing. Bringing the Jackal, a strong adjustment here. Also looping in the Flores, changing it up in some way, right? Bringing that additional utility, that explosive power that those Rotero drones bring to the map. This could be the fix that Butler need, but they're not starting off on the way that they were hoping to. Jackal, one of these key components, these key instrumental changes we were hoping to see Butler make, is already gone, and no trade is in sight.
It's been hard to find any semblance of a refrag. Gravy walks solo up West Main. He's got Jonesy there too, so maybe double dipping. Big She on the hop from Trophy side, and that'll open up the opportunity. So some site control here, and with Case, they're just going to go ahead and plant it. I like this. It's a heads-up call, but Raikai and Jonesy taking a beating. Here's Big Chai up and through the cut. It'll have to be a 1v2. The Thatcher better be careful. Castle on the drop down, but Big Chi was ready for it. Big Boosh, a C4 and full HP. We know him, a player that can snake his way through. Big Chi going to maybe try to remove the reticle here as he tosses out the EMP, but I don't think the Thatcher quite aware of the positioning adjustment. Big Boosh with the backstab, making sure that one doesn't go south, and marks a 4th round for the Buckeyes.
Right, Butler, the Bulldogs, they did make a good late push, trying to get that bomb down, trying to get something started, focusing on that objective play rather than hunting for the frags. And for a moment there, it looked like they had a chance, but then things started to crumble, where we saw some really good coverage from that Solarium staircase, some really good trades coming out from OSU Gray, and in the end, in that 1v1, Big Boosh, well, he had the advantage through and through because the case had not been planted. The diffuser was on the ground, and, you know, Big Chi, for all it's worth, is playing well right now, is finding himself in a lot of these last alive situations and has claimed 6 kills because of it, but they're not the most impactful kills ever, and Butler just aren't doing enough to support that play from Big Chi to really give them much success at all. It's 4-0 right now. OSU Gray holding a continuously building lead.
I think if you're going to look at where that execute went wrong and try to zoom in on a particular area, it was just all the different angles that OSU Gray had. They had footholds over by short, they had the hatch open, they had pressure from trophy stairs, and so there really wasn't a safe plant location. Raikai was just running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to find some place where there was enough cover that he was going to be able to get the plant, and the rest of his teammates would be able to support him. The closest Butler have really come so far, but on kind of a half-hitch execute, they need to be able to focus up on that one. Again, the wall will be open. Not much Big Boosh can do to stop it.
Right, good early step here from Butler, right? They got the wall open, but this right now, this next minute and a half of the round has been where they've struggled in the past. This is where OSU Gray have found these gaps, found these areas that they can expose on the Butler side, and we may see that again shortly. There is a roamer tucked up above. In Solarium right now, it's Netflix here, who at any point could spring down and try to go for a bit of a flank. West Main Stairs are going to be that crux point, right, where Butler need to focus on taking care of that flank, and for the first time, they will do it, and it will go untraded. So Butler have secured the opening pick, and now they've got a one-man advantage to play with.
Better just hold on to that and continue to press forward with the typical steps of execution. Over here in the wine cellar, they managed to get a wall open. They're still thinking about maybe what's going on the first floor. It'll be Enham to kind of link up with the rest of the squad. No ace here, so it's going to have to be Habana holes to make it right through. Boiler, I don't think we'll see any claws left in play to stop that. So you've got an opening here. This is Butler's big chance.
Yeah, now they've got a couple more angles to work with on the wine cellar side. They've got really great angles established on both of these bomb sites, and now it's just about picking where they want to make the move. Looks like they've made that choice as Big Cheese going for this defuse, and the question is, are OSU aware of this? They'll step up, but not enough to deny the plant, losing 2, 3 bodies in the process. It's all up to Toaster, who claims one onto Big Chi, but needs to find 2 more kills in this retake, and has got to do it fast. Doesn't know where Butler is positioned necessarily, just has to face check these angles, and it's Gravy from behind to finish off the round and secure Butler's first round win. Much better played than we've seen from them in the past.
That's your turning point right there. That's coming out of the timeout, being able to really reorganize yourself. You got one in the bag. Get this next one. Figure out where you're going to go with your defenses there, and Gravy getting it started. The opener, making sure Netflix was not able to get anything going on the roam, and he's able to clean up, remains composed, holds the angle, and works that crossfire with his teammate to shut that one down at the very end. So OSU Gray, one more attack, one more defense even before the end of the first half. It'll be on Bar and Gaming. The coordination was a problem. Butler were trying to get the burn and trying to blow the shield, but they ran into a big problem, which was Mamba on a triple kill, playing just pixel angles from Hut.
Right, they ran into that problem because they just neglected one of those key pressure points on that top floor, and that is those library windows, just getting into library and dumping some utility in there, while at the same time working their way across that piano, that office side. We need to see a little bit of both from them right now. I would love it if they favored library a little bit more, maybe put 3 bodies on that side, 2 bodies on the other side, just enough to force a player like Mamba out of position, enough to expose those shields that are going to be positioned on that top floor. You've got 2 shields as before, one in the hands of the Frost, one in the hands of the Alibi. Likely going to see those in Fireplace right by the chimney, and one on the top of those blue stairs. So Butler, they know what they're going to deal with here. They know the setup they're walking into. They just need to stay cohesive and deal with this as quick as they can.
Well, it looks like maybe Butler are going to take the easy way out and try to rush hit the site. Okay, Jonesy making sure he can get right through, prep the hole, and moving forward. He'll have the angle ready for stock. There's the target, and straight as she goes. Gravy in, monitoring pressure, but he's taken out. However, trades come forward. Butler doing well for themselves. Nate Flick's able to just score one out through the main door, but the plant nearly halfway done. Big Boosh will try to come in. I don't think he's going to manage the denial. Able to get that one down, coverage from up above, and Butler nearly having it here. Big Boosh in the 1-on-2. You better just be careful. You do not want to try to take these conversations. Big Boosh now on the runaround, trying to see if he can make it behind this attacker, but it'll be Jonesy proning behind the jukebox to get it done. 2 in a row. Butler able to salvage this first half.
Yes, I would consider it salvaged as well, Reese. I mean, yes, OSU, they did their job. They got their 4 rounds, but Butler, they clearly woke up. They clearly found the rhythm. They found their stride towards the end and set themselves up well for the second half. They still have their work cut out for them, I'd argue, but they're in a much better position than they could have been, just seeing the way that this game was progressing. Now, looking now at the adjustment Butler made, also curious as to the lack of awareness that we saw there from OSU Gray. That was probably the biggest error they've made thus far, not utilizing the top floor control to stop that rush. Butler utilizing the element of surprise beautifully, prevented anybody from sitting up in Fireplace Hall using that mezzanine control to take care of those players rushing up those main stairs or to take care of those players pushing into bar. So at the end of the day, Butler did a great job of exploiting that and surprising OSU Gray, and maybe we could have seen maybe a beat or 2 quicker reaction from OSU Gray if they wanted to take the round.
OSU Gray are going to look for a bit of a different operator composition here, not bringing the Thatcher Thermite that we saw so frequently through the start of this game. Instead, they've got ops like Lion and Capitao stepping in. Could be a bit of a problem. We don't have secondary breaches on Capitao, so your hard breaching util is focused entirely just from the Hibana, but a little bit of an extension playing up above, trying to hold out on that top floor. It'll be an overtake getting ready here from OSU Gray.
Yeah, starting things off on the Solarium side, not going directly into Library, at least with their entire 5-man force, likely diverting some of those resources to the southwest while also pressuring the northeast. It's going to be the Sledge to make the first move on the entry, trying to see if any Butler defenders are bold enough to challenge this attack head first. It looks like Butler is playing this one a bit more passively, though. The pretty standard positions, again, by Chimney and the top of Blue Stairs that OSU Gray seem to be eager to challenge their way into.
It'll just be a game of util so far. Nothing coming to blows with that passive defense coming out here from Butler. Will be castle barricades in the way, so it'll be Nate Flicks just initially on the punch. Instead of a grenade, they'll use a flame bolt. However, that gets caught up by the magnet, and Jonesy gets away on the fall-off, not captured by the Capitao before he was able to get out of there. But one less player in Library is a little, maybe extra comfort for this OSU Gray takeover.
But great discipline from Butler to not overexpose themselves, to back off instead of allowing themselves to die to any of these early positions. But now the discipline and the gun skill of 2 more players are going to be tested. It's going to fall on the shoulders of the Smoke, of the Mute. Big Chi in the top of Fireplace needs to be able to deny this entry, and already off to a good start. So shutting down the Sledge, playing on the balcony, now finally forced out by the fire and the flames, but he will happily take that and back off. Already claimed his kill. already did his job, wasted plenty of time. Now he can play this one safely. The smoke next to come in the line of fire.
And he's got a good setup here, but he's just not able to execute. Big Boosh got in. Perhaps a lack of a vertical angle covering that library single window allows the refrag to move on forward. It's 45 that OSU Gray will have to execute with. They don't have any breaches, and the sledge is gone. So your ability to create vertical, incredibly limited here in the circumstance we're about to see.
Gravy, wall bang! Goodbye, Nate Flicks. That's a way to start as this execute phase shifts over as Butler continue to gain ground in round number 7. Toaster and Mamba are all that remain. Going to have to just face check their way into this site, forcing their way into games, but the coverage from Butler is simply too good. Mamba now without a teammate needs to do all the work himself, and it is Raikai and Big Chi who will claim the final 2 kills. Well played by Butler, staying composed the entire time, leaving no doubt.
Really an outstanding turnaround here from Butler in the recovery, and a fantastic boost in performance by Big She, who has been able to really reel them in. OSU Gray not able to use their explosivity of players like Big Boosh or Z-Jock because they're getting found out, and Butler are understanding when it's time to play passive, when we need to wait for the audio cue and not, allow OSU Gray to always come in with that big surprise factor. Even saying that, Big Boosh still at 10-4, it's hard to totally ice him out.
But Butler with 3 in a row are showing us that, they have more in the tank than they may have shown us through those first 4 rounds. Really getting into the groove here. Definitely a Butler that I like that we're seeing. Gotta say, a big theme so far of this map has really been opening kills, lending their way to round wins. In almost every single round, we have seen the team who gets the opening kill win the round. It was OSU throughout the first, third, and fourth round who claimed the opener. They won all of those. Since then, Butler have gotten the opening frag, and they've won all of those rounds as well. The one round that kind of goes against that pattern, was a quick 1-2 trade where Butler technically got the first kill, but OSU immediately traded it, and then OSU ended up taking the round. So really important to stay tidy on the entry here for OSU Gray if they want to stop the bleeding and get the momentum back.
Yeah, and just another additive to that element, if you're able to find that entry kill and hold on to it is a big thing here. You want to convert on that advantage, not let it slip through your fingers. And in that one round where Butler had the opener, it slept through their fingers. They weren't able to hold on, and they weren't able to play that. It's Gravy still looking from down beneath, trying to play for the vert. Jonesy is kind of hiding out here on the extension. Butler a little bit more forward on the map than they have been previously.
Right there, a little bit more willing to challenge these attackers head on, not allowing them to take any bit of control for free. Take a look at Jonesy here, lurking down below. His position unknown, but he's just going to miss the opportunity on the first pass. The second time he gets the chance, but Nateflix is aware of it. A well-placed shot onto the Valkyrie below will give the opener to OSU Gray and will give them a little more head of steam as they clear their way through this map. They've also spotted out another big problem. That's going to be Gravy down below. He's been identified and forced to retreat. While that's happening, Big Boosh gets lit up but wins the gunfight against Big Chi.
That's one of your real superstar players that Butler were leaning into, maybe getting a little bit too comfortable playing against OSU Gray after a big streak beginning to develop for them. It'll be plenty of execute power. Toaster sends it in. The gas is off target, and there's no C4. A second Babe will march forward, but Raikai taken out. Plant no trouble. Thermite able to escape. A number of members on low HP. However, for OSU Gray, that just won't matter. The first flawless round, OSU Gray able to break their cold snap and get their way back on the board.
Yeah, no better way to do it than that. A flawless round that, it was dominant through and through. That's what happens when you have all 5 members up on the board. The big problem there for Butler, it seemed like they bit off a little more than they could chew. They tried to do a little too much on that defense, putting not only 1, but 2 defenders in awkward, isolated positions that resulted in individual gunfights without trades. That was the big problem there for Butler. Often we see this from the attack, right? Where an attacker will push in alone, will run into a defender they didn't know was there, and then no trade happens, and all of a sudden, the defense is winning. It was the complete opposite here, where Butler was like, okay, we're going to challenge these attackers the moment they step into the building. The consequence of that is they just lacked support. They allowed OSU Gray to get kills that were isolated on the other side of the map than the majority of the team, and OSU Gray were more than happy to secure kill after kill, and working it all the way down to 0.
Yeah, and that was just kind of the one rotten egg in the basket there for Butler, hoping that coming out of that round, they quickly realized that mistake, and somebody steps up, he's the leader, makes the correction before it turns back to the side of OSU Gray. Just a 2-round difference here that Butler will need to make up, and it's a repeat for Butler. Going back to the same side, I like that idea. I think it shows me that they understood what went wrong, and you can see their 2 defenders a little bit closer on the spacing this time.
Right, they're not playing down below over in Library. They're playing in Library itself. So still contesting this attack early, but doing it with more utility, more support, and a quicker rotation back to the site. Not necessarily allowing themselves to get exposed to those cutoffs on those staircases and when they want to rotate back. Some early action here, though, in Library as Gravy is keen to take a couple of fights, pressuring Mamba as they get on the rappel. Jonesy, though, will be the one to strike first, and Butler will get on the scoreboard early, taking out Nate Flicks, removing the Yana, the fragging power, and the explosive capability she brings into the lobby.
This one seems like it's maybe caused a bit of a kerfuffle for OSU Gray. They're going to try an aid from below, but great game sense by the Mira. On the adjustment, she steps away from her predictable position, and so that frag will go up and really accomplish not a whole lot. However, the Mira can't really play from that window now, and so maybe they'll consider staying down there. OSU Gray, for the first time in a while, feeling like they're starting to stall out a little bit.
Yeah, losing a player early can often have a similar consequence to this. You lose time, you lose a little bit of focus, and now you leave yourself vulnerable to plays like this. It's Gravy, who may have started the round up above, but then rotated down below after that opening kill. And here comes Jonesy around the corner. Vector in hand, usually wins that close range engagement, but Toaster will prevail. Looking for another one is Mamba, but Big Chi from behind with a little bit of a surprise will take care of him and turn this one back into a 2-man advantage, favoring the defense. Big Boosh, he'll have something to say about that and take care of Gravy, but they're still 1 man down, and they only have 50 seconds to work with.
It's the hard-breaching combo, last alive, so they will at least be able to get open the wall. Exothermic will go, and Big Chi reverts to cover, but he's got a C4. It'll be tossed out on the detonation shot, I believe, by the Thermite, so that explosive, that means a plant denial. No longer an option. However, with the K9 balcony, it kind of makes this a troubling one because getting a plant down, you could just walk right up on him. Big She able to reach 11 kills. Big Boosh last alive, just seeing if he can outlast. He can't. Big She for another one. Butler correcting their mistakes with really an excellent change. Much better team play. Ultimately, the positioning really leading to their success.
Right, the positioning was so much better in that round. Instead of playing more passive fights down below, they decided to sit in Library itself, making sure that OSU Gray, when they stepped into the building, they had a lot more to worry about, and they couldn't just sit on a drone and get information and play safe. They needed to be heads up, ready for those gunfights, and if not, they were going to get picked apart, and that's exactly what Butler managed to exploit. They claimed the opening kill. They followed that one up with another, stalling out OSU Gray and really taking advantage of the time pressure that they could apply to that attack.
Well, this game so far, really a textbook example of what happens when you get that opening kill. You're not able to deny it. You're not able to trade it back, and you convert the round. Aside from that one mulligan we had in round number 2, every single time the team that gets the opening kill is able to get that conversion, and OSU Gray just not able to reach it there, but still holding a slim lead against Butler here. This game, I think, surprisingly competitive. I was looking for OSU Gray to just fly off the handle with Z-Jock and Big Boosh. That's been kind of contained so far.
Yeah, I mean, Big Boost started out really hot and has been able to put up some very impressive numbers. Let's be very clear. 12 kills right now, tying Big Chi for the most frags in this lobby right now. But yes, Reese, Butler have managed to contain it a little bit. They managed to settle in, and on the defense, they've been managing to really put the pressure on OSU Gray. They're making this attack feel uncomfortable, much like the way that Butler looked in those first 4 rounds that OSU took back to back to back. So Butler have changed up the storyline of this game right now, and it's working beautifully for them. We're going back to Barron games now where they can focus on this utility play. They can focus once more on delaying Ohio State and getting them into a tight spot.
Well, really, the entry game for OSU Gray is probably going to be the biggest consideration, the thing that they need to improve the most. Big Bush nearly had his 13th. However, that player just to the interior of Library, barely managing to dodge around. Here will come the burn as the Zope gets it sent on forward, and really good time made there by OSU Gray, not getting hung up. No Jaeger in play, so it was just magnets they needed to get past.
Minute 40, time ticking. OSU Gray need to get a move on here. They've got plenty of utility to deal with it. They just need to start letting it rip. They know they're going to be stalled out if they take too long here, and we're seeing the consequence of that right now. It's Jonesy playing in Library, playing close in that closet, who gets the first kill, shuts down the Capitao, and drops away to safety. That is the big thing, because you still have 2 healthy defenders on this top floor willing to hold these power positions, and you had your 3rd top floor defender sneak downstairs and stay alive. This is where it gets really dangerous for OSU Gray. They are running out of time and running out of options.
A little flank was in motion there as well, but it was just kind of a thing to grab the attention of OSU Gray and take them off target for a little while. It's been successful so far. I think maybe only 1 defender left just to be the smoke at the top of the blue staircase. Somebody had slinked off from top main. In fact, that smoke has decided to give it up and just play this one. It can be kind of dangerous to play this, though, because there is not a lot of cover. Maybe that won't matter, though. It's Raikai and Gravy still able to step up and stand up with their guns. Mamba looking for an angle as Z-Jock creeps down, but he's wondering what's going on over in the distance. Sees the player, but he's just getting harassed right now. Mamba taken out. Here's the flank that'll probably do it in. It's a trade for those players, and Jonesy able to clean it up as a miraculous comeback here for Butler. They tie us up.
Yeah, after losing 4 rounds in a row, they take the next 5 out of 6. What a way to turn things around. What a turn of events here in this first map. This is setting up to be an incredible best of 3, because Butler showed us, and they answered the question that we posed before the map even began. Which of these teams is going to prove to us that they're capable at reading their opponents and making some adjustments? Butler, I mean, they've done the definition of that. After struggling to start things off, they've adapted beautifully, and they have all the momentum in the world.
Some teams have had trouble doing that against OSU Gray, and specifically Kennesaw was one that in our first day of the event really had problems with it, but Butler have done well. Jonesy consistently being involved in the early duels, and Big Boosh silenced there in the previous round. OSU Gray not looking like their usual selves, despite still a decent kind of split of frags. They haven't had that same eruption that we tend to expect from them.
Yeah, it's been a little bit slower. Right, they're trying to play the game that Butler are forcing them to play, this more methodical, more utility-focused game. And while that may work for some teams, and it may work for OSU Gray sometimes, it's not working for OSU Gray right now. They are the ones who need to find a way to change up the rhythm, maybe bring out a more unique operator select, maybe mix it up with a little bit of an aggressive play, right? They cannot be afraid to try something new here, given how heavily these last few rounds have favored Butler, but it is tied up. The next team to take a round here will be poised and ready to take map point. This is certainly still anyone's game, but you've got to argue that Butler are still the ones holding the cards.
There's your opener. Again, that signifying element. OSU Gray, of course, still have a timeout remaining should they need it. Haven't taken one in any of their games so far, to my knowledge. Gravy has been a contributor, has seen some crucial moments so far for him to be out of the picture. Still need to rely on Butler, though. They've got players out on the field. Just 1 death is not enough to send them back, but 2 might do it. Big She now DBNO And it's left to that other player, Jonesy, who doesn't really have much of the firepower needed to retake this position. It's going to have to be just on his confidence and his game sense if he's getting anything done here.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get the mute back in play. Big Cheese is good as dead, given that he is stuck in, well, what is now a challenging OSU Gray crossfire. But the big deal here now is Jonesy's been spotted. Mamba with a clean shot will take care of the Valkyrie, simply overstaying his welcome on that top floor, maybe holding on to some misplaced bit of hope that he could have revived Big Chi and could have gotten his teammate back up in the fight. But unrealistic at that point, given how the position was. Now it's going to come down to the Mira and the Kai to hold down the rest of the map here.
A lot of these rounds that we've had have been team victories. Haven't needed to see many huge clutches so far. And if you're wanting to really get excited, it would be probably from this Butler clutch. The Thermite beginning to step forward. No C4 from Enham. It's going to be this gunfight between the Mira and probably the Hard Breacher that defines where this one is going. Enham, he doesn't even have his red dot anymore. Going to have to do this one just simply off of his own aim. It'll be somebody moving up from short, and that's a great way to send this one. The flashbang doesn't affect the Mira, who is still in here, trying to creep it forward. Spots the Thermite. He better deny this. The Thermite could pop up. Going for the reload. There's the short player, and that will get it done. Mamba and the coverage from Trophy ultimately putting us ahead. The Buckeyes have got map point.
Yeah, technically you could have said that was a close call. The Mira nearly pulled it off, but at the end of the day, there were more than enough OSU bodies to deal with that. Had that kill been found, it probably wouldn't have mattered. Once the Mira exposed their position, it was pretty much over. OSU Gray, they could collapse. They had the bodies to afford. And as much as we've talked about the power of Butler over these last few rounds, it is Ohio State who move on to map point. They will have the first chance to solidify map number 1 and send things over to a confident map number 2 where they have a chance to put this series away. So Butler, they've got to find the answer here. We're going back upstairs to Master and Office where they have been successful 1 of 2 times. So this one, it's gone both ways. Butler hoping that the coin flips to their side this time.
Just one last round of regulation here to try and find the antidote. And it hasn't really been too complex of a game so far. When Butler lose a round, it's just because of mispositioning and not being able to work together. And when they win a round, it's because they do the very opposite of that. They are able to find those OSU Gray members. So far, the Buckeyes in that last round making good use of droning, very patient, didn't try to do anything crazy, and they knew, as soon as we get that intel, that's when we kind of earn our keep. So if Butler are able to just kind of realize that over here on the Masters side, they should be able to take it so far. Looking at Master, only played once in the second half, and it was a victory for Butler, but we'll see how this one does fend out.
We'll remind you that 10 of 11 rounds has seen the opening kill dictate the victor. Very important to pay attention to what happens in these first 30 seconds. It's going to be Ohio State Gray. It is going to be Mamba taking care of Jonesy. The Mira gone so early. This is where Ohio State can put this map away. They've claimed the opening kill. The indicator of what should be a good performance from them. Z-Jock will take a few bullets as he begins to fight with a couple more aggressive defenders like Gravy, who are willing to take these forward positions and take these forward fights. But Butler needs to be careful now. While Gravy could find a kill or two, this is as high risk but high reward as you're ever going to get.
Well, they know about him now. It's Gravy to step up. I think he's going to want to take this one-on-one. Chow with the Iana. Not able to get it yet. It's only a matter of time before the rest of the boys begin to cinch in on this location. Gravy, if he can get this confirm off, might be a win. He's just going to search for it. He better get over there pretty quickly now, and he will get rid of the Iana. If they don't get somebody else out on this window, it could turn into a second kill.
But he is trapped in games. He has nowhere to go. The importance now for Ohio State is that they play together. You can't take these 1v1s. Mamba, wait for your teammates. It's a free double kill for Gravy. He's going to be able to rotate around, and Big Boosh will get the kill. But, God, so dangerous to be playing with a man advantage and to risk throwing it away like that. We're back at an even 3v3 with under a minute to go.
Very scrappy there from Butler and Gravy. Well done to him, but still, the job is not yet finished. They've got Big She, who hasn't been too lucky from this position. Maybe that changes here, though. Able to pop up with the SMG-11, and it removes Big Boosh, the player previously to earn that refrag against Gravy. A C4, maybe a bit premature. The push-up from Z-Jock, if he just gets aggressive, he might find it here. Big Chi over-aggresses, pushes his luck, and Raikai against Toaster. Z-Jock not having the best game here in this one, but his stats so far have been pretty solid in our second day. We'll see what Z-Jock does as he begins to move forward, just trying to test the angle. He can't do it. Raikai will hold on, and Butler prompt overtime.
Yeah, and it's only natural that finally our pattern of opening kills changes on round number 12. When Butler needs to put one away to send us to OT, to go the distance here on map number 1, they will change up the rhythm. They will change up the pattern that we've seen established, and they will hang in there despite the early loss. And as much as we may have criticized the risky play from Gravy, at the same time, that's probably what won Butler the round. I mean, once they lost that opening engagement, you really have two big choices to make. Do you, A, retreat back to the site, play safer because you're in a man disadvantage, or knowing that you are down and potentially risk losing the map right there, do you take a risk? Do you decide to go for that risky play, knowing that as long as you're able to get 1 kill, maybe 2 kills like Gravy was able to get there, you are wasting time, you're wasting manpower, and you're forcing OSU Gray to look elsewhere and delay so much time.
One thing that might help to serve Butler here, they get the double defense in OT. It's just a standard OT, best of 3 rounds. We don't get infinite until tomorrow. But Butler, again, will have 2 opportunities to defend. However, that coin could turn to the other side. OSU Gray now, after playing 6 rounds of attack against Butler, maybe the strat book for Butler starts to get a little bit thin. And OSU Gray are able to predict that. I like this change, though, for Butler, bringing both Wamai and Jaeger, where previously OSU Gray had no trouble clearing utility. Maybe that's a little bit more drawn out now.
All eyes, at least my eyes, are going to be on Jonesy here, who's played this Barron Games defense to perfection both times that we have seen it come out for Butler. They've won it both times. Jonesy has been a core component of that both times, playing expertly in library and then dropping away to safety when he feels that pressure. The difference here is it's not just Jonesy who's going to come in the line of fire soon. I'm worried a little bit about Gravy, who's currently sitting all the way in the basement trying to contest some early pressure that may come his way. So keep an eye on that. OSU Gray, the one thing they've done beautifully already, though, within the first 60 seconds, is deal with that top blue shield.
They are just really in the rigmarole of getting that done. Nothing can hold them back too much. I suppose when you've got no mute, no Mozzie, and Flores as an effect, it does become a bit easier for that. However, maybe that's more on Butler for not being careful enough to watch it. We've seen this play out so far. Wamai from inside library and the attempt to try to push him out. It's been capitals, it's been grenades. You get a win on this engagement here. It is so valuable. It'll be the first grenade that's caught in coverage. Jonesy, if he jumps out, just baited by Big Boosh. Who's seen that one before?
Yeah, I was complimenting Jonesy for his disciplined play in library. That time, he got a bit too eager to take the fight, ends up losing his life, and quickly the smoke will fall immediately after, given how vulnerable that position is on the blue stairs without that shield and without your teammate in library. Not only 1, but 2 opening kills for OSU Gray. They've set themselves up really well for the execute phase in this round.
Somebody from Butler is going to have to step up and turn it around. You've got some coverage. That's Frost inside stock. Gravy, he has been lurking for so long. He gets Mamba here. That would be big. However, I don't think it's going to happen. Big She, Raikai, both gone. Gravy gives away his position, and he won't be able to get it done against Mamba. And just as well as they did in previous OSU, another flawless round.
Yeah, and that loss there from Butler, it felt a lot like their second defensive round. It felt a lot like round number 8, where they tried to do too much. Obviously, OSU Gray had seen that setup twice, so it's reasonable to assume that they're going to have a bit of a better understanding of it. Maybe you want to change something up because of that, but the setup that they brought has worked twice. Butler have won that site twice, not with a weird roam on the bottom floor, not with over-aggression in library, but with a pretty disciplined and standard hold, right? That entire round, Gravy was in the basement doing absolutely nothing, right? Didn't support his team. Maybe sat on cams to provide some bit of knowledge there, but coming up the stairs at the last second after your entire team is dead, that's not all that helpful. Jonesy trying to take that fight early in library. He's just supposed to delay time, and what he's done so beautifully over the last 2 rounds on Barn Games was staying alive towards that late round and dropping back safely, running out of a window or taking the fight with the window player and dying. Not all that helpful either. Right. So Butler, not the round that we wanted to see from them. Very different than the successful rounds that we've seen from them and the ones that they've put together on the defensive side. And as a result, they now have their work cut out for them on the attack. They've got to put together a successful attack against an OSU Gray team who defended this map successfully 4 times.
Well, you know, Jonah, you have an excellent point about Jonesy's play that happened just there on library. I have a hard time feeling bad for him, though, because it feels like something that I would do myself when you know the nade is coming and you just try to get crafty. You try to do something like that to get a leg up. It doesn't always work out, and it cost Butler the early round, and they have not been great at digging themselves back from disadvantages. That's a category where OSU Gray are pretty much a dictator in.
Big Boosh. Majority of his kills have been found on that defensive side, so this is where he can find that success. Oh my. Such a close engagement between him and, well, I believe that could have been, was that Raikai on the balcony there trying to fight that early pressure? Big Boosh is getting in the face of these attackers here, has been so dangerous on the cap can in positions just like this. Butler, they've got to get a handle on this quickly.
This could be really good or really bad. Big Boosh not able to nail down Gravy, the Ash, who does not give up on this one. Instead holds her ground, and Big She with a nice find there against Mamba. Gravy comes online for a kill against Big Boosh when Butler need their star players most. They're able to come to life with great success in the early game. 2 of your players, your only 2 players for OSU Gray in double-digit territory, now off the board. It'll have to be a late return from the support element here in the 3-on-5.
Yeah, the anchor's going to be really tested now. They're going to have to keep an eye on this utility. Just saw smoke get tossed out a bit earlier than was necessary. No way that push is going to come in lightning fast off the breach, given the way that this round has progressed. But I guess Netflix just trying to play this one safe, trying to wait until he can make sure that his teammates are back to support him. So he'll let that second Toxic Babe sing, and this will also allow Toaster to get a bit active, picking up that kill onto Big Chi, lighting up Raikai. Netflix taking fights as well. Butler looking to get aggressive now, but OSU, they're going blow for blow. Toaster now denies another. Jonesy, though, gets the trade, and it'll all fall on the shoulders of the castle. It's Z-Jock hoping to deny this plant, but Jonesy behind the coverage will secure it. Exposed, though. Wait a minute. Z-Jock, he's got 2. This is a 1v1. 20 seconds left for the 0. A major blunder there from Butler. Jonesy didn't realize he was exposed behind the bomb chassis. This is anyone's game. 10 seconds to 0. Has to find this bomb and figure out a way to get it down, but he will hunt for the frag and win it anyway. Z-Jock taken care of, and Butler, with an impressive performance, will hang in.
That has got to feel good for Enham, who hasn't really been a crazy star player so far. To know that the rest of the roster can count on him, it's really a feeling that warms your heart. Enham getting it done when even the rest of the squad failed. Still, though, an excellent showing by Z-Jock to get in there, to kill the coverage, to stop the plant with barely enough time to spare. If only he had just been a little tougher on the positioning. It'll give us one last round here on Chalet.
Yeah, all the way to round 15 here on the first map of the day. If this is setting the tone for the entire day for all these best of 3s, I mean, I cannot wait for what we have in store. These teams getting fired up bright and early this morning in Columbus. These teams are already going blow for blow. Exactly what you love to see. Hoping that this energy continues as we progress throughout not only this series, but the endless siege that we've got coming your way. throughout the day of play, right? Obviously, we've got our stream here on Collegiate R6 Bravo. If you're tuning in to us here and supporting these teams, don't forget to check out the other teams playing over at our Hilliard facility on the Collegiate R6 main stream. So you can have both streams up at the same time. You can be consuming endless amounts of Collegiate Siege to satisfy your desires.
I mean, we just got it all for us here inside Columbus this weekend. And we had Doc picked by Jonesy, not an operator he's flexed to so far. Gravy on his classic Oryx that he has really done well with. I think a note about that last round that you mentioned, you know, Big Boosh was a big powerhouse defensively. He couldn't get anything done in that previous one.
Yeah, that's a fair point. He was in similar positions that allowed him to thrive in the past. And, yeah, Butler, knowing that, managed to track him down and put him in the dirt within the, the first minute and a half. So really good job from Butler to deal with that, and now it's on OSU Gray to deal with similar styles of play. They're going to have to find a way to get these annoying defenders out of the way. But unfortunately, we will not be able to see much at all as our entire screen has been muted. Finally, we're going to get through that mute bug there. So we will now resume the action.
I guess the EMP grenade must have wore off there finally, so we are back, and OSU Gray, big opportunity for them to see if they can close out after really leading us and having strong command of the game once we were starting this morning, and Butler have really battled back. It's important to note here, inside the venue playoffs, it's single elimination best of three, so you lose this map, whoever takes this one, maybe moving on to the next map, they got a little bit of a leg up and an opportunity to close down upon that one. I think we're all watching Big Boosh and Seajock to see if they're going to be able to finally power up for their roster.
Well, they've pinned down the position of a couple of these defenders. They've got some pings, as you can see. Big Boosh is on the hunt. Knows someone's down in the basement, but I believe that's Gravy. He has quickly just dashed to the other side of the map. He's out of there, wasting so much time here. And Butler, they'll be the first to strike, not to finish off the kill, but at least to get the down onto Mamba. Finally, a kill is found, but actually it is OSU who get on the board first. Big Chi taken care of.
Seems like they might not really know about the dock. It's kind of an awkward situation happening down there inside a bar. Jonesy, just judging by the body language, doesn't look like anyone's paying attention to him. Jonesy could really prove to be the most valuable man because there's only 35 seconds, and he's got a clear pathway to strike forward. Just needs to be careful on the trigger discipline. He's got the 1.5. It can reach out and touch that attacker.
Oh, Jonesy, good spot there to get the first one behind him. How does he win that fight? Netflix gets totally owned, and it's a 3v3. 15 seconds remain, and Big Boosh knows he's got to step up. Raikai, long angle on the coverage, but it's Jonesy with a triple kill from behind. Watch out, Toaster. He's coming up the stairs. That's a quad. Big Boosh, last player standing. Jonesy with the ace, and Butler taking round 15 and taking Chalet with one of the craziest plays from a dock that you could have imagined.
Oh, he just hid and wait, and when the Viper strikes, you're going to feel it. Jonesy got it done, and Butler, despite overwhelming odds, despite a tumultuous start to the game, they were able to quickly get themselves back into shape. The roster focused up, and they will lead the series. It's Butler 8-7 as we start things off here this morning from Columbus.
Oh boy. Oh my word. What a way to wrap up map number 1. Jonesy going absolutely bonkers. What a way to end that. But the kill onto Netflix, the 180 to spin around and kill the Yana who had successfully snuck up behind him. I have no idea how he was able to get that kill, but I'm sure he's pretty happy about it, and the rest of the team is pretty happy about it because, well, he did all the work in round 15 to put Butler on top.
I mean, what a way to be able to come in as Butler against one of the teams probably inside of our venue, the team that has the best explosivity. Big Boosh has been a top fragger, really delivering in every single game. On offense, he could not find any sort of rhythm. And it's still a testament to Big Boosh to get 15 kills inside of just one side of the game. But even then, it just was not enough. And Butler played a great game of team siege today.
Yes, they absolutely did because they had to make so many adjustments. I mean, starting out down 4 rounds and then winning the map 8-7, what a way to start the day. What a way to start the series and to set them up well for map 2. But we're going to be moving on to map 2. But before we do that, we're going to be taking a quick break. So do not go anywhere. You won't want to miss this.
He isolates the Kaid, able to go for one tap. It's gonna be another one tap for him. It's gonna be the ace.
Flizy gets owned. He gets 2. Are you kidding? They know it! Sentry through the wall.
But they keep feeding him 1v1s. He almost finds all 4. That's what. Oh no!
Well, I think we all needed to take a moment to breathe there after that ridiculous conclusion to map number 1, Chalet, going Butler's way. 8-7 on round 15 with Jonesy hitting a ridiculous ace to close out the map. What a way to end map 1, Reese, but we've still got potentially 2 maps of Siege to play.
I mean, that's just telling us what the start of this is going to be like. And not only do we have 2, more possible maps, we also have, after this, 3 more series, 3 more best of 3s just here at OSU, and as well, we've got series running at the other venue on Collegiate R6 as well, so we've got a lot of different offerings today. We're looking at Theme Park up next, a bit of a different beast compared to Chalet, but still a map that's going to require a lot of coordination, and Butler will need to be ready for it.
Right, a very different map, generally in the way the map is structured, but given the way I think we saw both of these teams play the map, especially on the defensive side, I honestly would argue it's going to play out in a similar fashion with these defensive teams, right, putting so much focus into those extensions, but more than that, into those surprise roams with that, one player kind of ratting in a corner somewhere, hiding, right? We saw that from Big Boosh to kick off the map on the Ohio State side, and then we saw it from Butler, from Gravy, from Jonesy, from plenty of people who put themselves in those tough spots. So the Bulldogs and the Buckeyes, they head over to Theme to see what we've got in store for next.
Bulldogs in the lead series-wide as we jump onto the map of Theme Park and see how this one does pan out. OSU Gray do go ahead and ban first, and I'm probably expecting it to be a Nook and a Zombie again. It's been a frequent flyer combo, and you're getting a little bit of love in chat.
Yeah, look at that. Shout out Gravy for that one. Yeah, no, it'll be good to see this one really, really develop because like we talked about, we spent so much time really analyzing those operator bans, seeing exactly how that would impact play. But at the end of the day, like Butler and OSU both, they really played the map and they really played each other, making it pretty clear that regardless of these operators taken off the board, I think we're going to see this back and forth early. I think we're going to see both of these teams just at each other's throats, right? The Jackal ban, I think, makes a bit more sense than the Ace ban, especially on Theme Park. If Butler feel confident in their attacking ability without that Jackal, I think it's a very reasonable ban, maybe limiting the intel that OSU Gray might be able to obtain when they are going on the attack and trying to clear those roamers.
I am a big benefactor of banning Solus on Theme Park, which has got so many areas where 1 or 2 mute jammers just completely stops you from droning anything. And with how many nooks and crannies, Theme Park, kind of a mid to larger size map, that can be a real trouble. Azami is alive and well. It's Mira who gets removed. I expect to see a lot of her, especially on Armory and Throne, where she can provide a bit of extra cover to a site that doesn't really have a lot of positions where you can stand and fight your opponents. That's where we'll be headed first, and we'll see if they do intend to lock in here. OSU Gray begin on the defense just as they did in our previous showing.
Yeah, and starting things off on Throne is no surprise whatsoever. Generally considered the strongest site on this map just because so much map control is needed for successful attacks to be carried out. At the very least, if you want to attack Throne, you're going to need to get some pressure going from maintenance, from barrels, and probably up above. Those are generally the 3 steps. It's very possible that you could pressure, the workshop side of things instead, that armory side of things instead, opening up that yellow stairs wall, getting some pressure in from that side, or if you're really an overachiever, you could do all 4. Get open all 3 walls, get some vertical pressure going, get somebody in that dragon side, get somebody pushing in from split. If you can do all of that, or at least a couple of those things, that is what effectively will force OSU Gray into a corner. The problem is, in order for attacks to do that, they often will have to clear their way through a lot of defensive utility, especially on the top floor. So the Monty pick is interesting because it could show us that they want a brick wall to help them with that top floor clear, or they might just want to get a bit more aggressive and use that Monty to walk straight into the site.
It can be a good one here on Theme Park. There's not a lot of areas where the Monty kind of runs into those trouble spots. As long as he's got good teammates, that's your main consideration here. Nothing in the defending lineup that's going to stop him. No, Ella or Legion or anything like that. Initially here, Butler just getting ready, and OSU Gray already beginning the fall off as they've nabbed a few drones. Just continuing to make forward progress here. The doe could be a nice one to have as well, not only for calls and hacking cams, but also at execute time. If you can make sure any defenders that have died are not watching you with good vision, that can make life a lot easier.
Mamba, the first defender to really feel the pressure from this Butler attacking side, has effectively backed off really well, really avoiding most of those gunfights. Instead, it will be Big Boosh and Gravy who get into the first one, Mamba into the second one. Toaster tacks on another, so OSU Gray will emerge from the first opening scuffle with a one-man advantage.
That can be quite troubling, especially when you've got a Monty as one of those last three alive. It becomes much more difficult to isolate targets when you're essentially 2 on 4 with people that have got rifles up. Oh, nearly didn't check the corner for Z-Jock there. Now equips the shotgun, but it's Raikai who's able to put that one to bed and recover from the man. Disadvantage feet of the Monty nearly spotted. Big Boosh has got more feet, but he's having some difficulty getting on target, and a great cutoff there done by Big Chi to get there in the time.
Yeah, smart rotation from Big Chi. Big Boosh had exposed his position and was completely isolated on the top floor. Risky from the castle there to go for those footholds because, again, without any support, he's now not only lost his life, but he's done so without finding really any additional damage. A little bit onto the Monty, a little bit onto the Thermite, but now it's a 2v3 with OSU Gray wishing they had that third teammate, that third gun, to hold off this site push. Because with a Monty pushing in, this will get scary really fast.
This is the opposite side of the coin. 20-second execute. Wall open, but there's still gas, and Monty is going to move way too slow. Nearly dies, but he gets the heal from the Kona station. Maybe not too bad after all. Pulls out the pistol, and he's got the smoke out of the fight. Who says the Monty can't get the frags? And Ham is turning on the jets as he's got the last two.
Oh, look at that. What a way to finish off the round. Didn't look the most intentionally placed headshot I've ever seen, but he will absolutely take it. Butler, they take the first round. The early scuffle, the opening kill, they all went the way of Ohio State, but Butler found the response they needed. The team from Indianapolis, Indiana, coming here to Ohio State's home territory, and so far on Theme Park, making sure that they take the first round, get some momentum going their way.
It's worth noting here as well, Chalet was the choice of OSU Gray, and Butler managed to pick that one up. It's the Bulldogs who have elected to bring us to Theme Park as the second map in the series. Skyscraper was banned out, so they won't be able to go to that one. It's a good map for them, so smart by OSU Gray to remove it. We have a decider map of Bank, and really, I like these three maps because they're large, and they really require a coordinated unit to hit them, both on attack as well as defense. So it shows us the best of these two teams. It gives us a collegiate test.
These big maps, especially in Collegiate, I've always found that they generally favor the defense. It usually feels like they favor the defense, and I mean, that generally makes sense. When you think about the experience and coordination required to attack these maps effectively against defensive teams who know what they're doing. I mean, there's a lot you have to know how to do quickly, and know how to do together, right? That's not an easy thing to do. And so we're going to have to see how Butler continue to make that happen against these OSU adjustments that we are already likely going to see on several different occasions. Mamba picking up the Warden is interesting because we did see the smokes come out from Butler. We did see their comfort with that additional utility. 4 smokes in play, 2 in Raikai's pocket, 2 in Jonesy's pocket. So could be a reasonable adjustment there from Mamba. Combining that with the intel you get from that BP camera, those black eye cameras from the Valkyrie, they should put themselves in a pretty good position to fight this roam clear as it works its way across the map.
Bit slow on the initial start here for Butler. Gravy has actually got in horizontally. There's one in maintenance. It's likely to come to blows between those two players. In fact, it does. Benefiting Toaster there, as he's able to succeed. Toaster starting off a nice nest of frags he's got himself so far. And Gravy, 0-2 from the get-go, marking 2 rounds in a row where he's got the consecutive opening death. Never mind that, though, as Big G is there on the recovery. Butler seeming to be back in the saddle a little bit. Their attacks improving on the refrag element from Chalet.
Yeah, their trades are coming in much quicker than before. Doesn't mean they're getting the opening kills, but it means they're recovering from it. And at the end of the day, that's really all you need to do. Big Boosh, though. He will be the next player that will test Butler's coordination and trading ability because he is now ratting his way in cash. Jonesy around the other side will surprise him and get a headway enough to take care of the castle in due time, taking advantage of that phone, hacking these cameras to give Butler additional intel to hopefully speed this along. They're running out of time. Thankfully, they are continuing to get these frags. A 4v2 really means that even though they only have 40 seconds left, they can play a little bit more comfortably than they would otherwise.
It's really quite impressive how Butler have been able to find out some of these quirks of playstyle that OSU Gray have. The mute jammer cleared. You've got a defender trapped inside maintenance, nearly gets shots, but only a tiny bit of damage. Having the pea shooter does not help. And Nate Flicks has got a very low damage weapon to take out 4 targets with. 2 babes left. There's a player on the prone, and he can't best him. Butler continue their streak after closing it out in OT, now with 2 in a row.
This feels like a completely different Butler we're seeing right now. It feels like they're riding the high of that ace from the last map, and they are just, taking the fight to OSU Gray here in a big way. That's back-to-back rounds where Ohio State Gray have found the opening kill. But it's back-to-back rounds that Butler have won. And it's not even been that close on the execute. The mid-round from Butler right now is beautiful. They're finding maybe not the best success ever on the entry duel, but the rest of the team, as they work their way into the map, they are doing such a better job of getting intel and being coordinated to get those kills.
And I think if you take it back about an hour prior, we were saying the opposite thing. We were saying Butler's mid-round, they could not transition. Yes. They were getting caught up and they were having problems. Now it's a totally different Butler. Another one that I'd like to mention here as well is Big Boosh twice now has tried to do his usual Big Boosh things, and they've been read out, and they have been just eliminated by smart play, good timing, and great positioning from Butler, whether earlier it was Big She on the wraparound from control room to eliminate him fighting the footholds, or just there for the Dokkaebi to expel him from the wrap position inside of Cash. Beautifully done so far by Butler. And OSU Gray really looking out of an element that they need. They're a roster that, as we've said continuously, can have explosivity, but something that Butler are doing is sapping that right now.
Butler hoping to keep that up will return to the Monty strategy that worked for them in that very first round, using Enham as a figurative and at times literal brick wall that just storms his way into the map, finding out the roamers as he does so, exposing their positions and allowing his teammates to collapse from behind, picking up kills as they work their way across the map. And at the very least, forcing those defenders back a little bit easier. They got to get in the map to do that first, and they're still doing that, still working on finding that point of egress. Appears to be Cash at the moment and Top Dragon, as Butler will begin to make the first moves. One spotted out. That's going to be Toaster in the bathroom. He's been forced back into office itself now that he feels the pressure starting to build.
He needs to be careful here because I doubt he's got any ADS coverage. And when you tuck back there, you can easily get naded. Mamba to start it off 3 rounds in a row where Gravy has died on entry death. And Toaster, we'll see if he's discovered. The Monty closes in, nearly exposes himself. I think they're aware of it now, though. Toaster in this tucked corner. Yep, they've got it. The Z-ping is there. And now we just have to watch and wait for the frags, or maybe Rycry is going to take things into his own hands and try for the frag, mate. Maybe just make it in. There's our grenade. It's ready. The swing will come. The Jaeger backs off, but there was a magnet.
Yep, we got that nade dealt with. Still exploded, so it did force Toaster to back off a little bit, but it's now forced OSU into a bit of a corner. It's Big Chi to get two, Jonesy another, and trades are flying off the board with these only a minute, still a minute left to go. Mamba will eliminate Big Chi finally, so Enham now has to struggle through the rest of the round as the Monty has to fault that rotate. So difficult to fight that as a shield player with a pistol in hand while in the vaulting animation, as Enham quickly discovered. So OSU Gray, it was close, but they managed to hang on.
The Buckeyes able to figure out part of what they want to do in the mid-round there. The trades were electric. They managed to isolate it down, bring it just to the Monty, and they have the ADS. They had the right amount of utility in order to deal with that, and just because they didn't have real firm control of control room and a niche, I think was part of the problem why that Jaeger and Wamai were able to kind of do the dirty work from there in the back of office. If that's a different situation, maybe it plays out a little more favorably to Butler, and so we will end up choosing to skip defending initiation in office, and we go to lab and storage.
Initiation in office is a very tough site to defend because it's vulnerable from both sides, right?
Right.
Bunk and daycare, with which we just saw, you could, in theory, pressure top arcade, try to work your way in break room, maybe cafe, whatever. It's a much harder side to pressure than initiation in office. But if you go to initiation in office, then you deal with pressure from the attack from both sides. Bunk and daycare is available. Cash and security are still available. Top Dragon's a good point of entry. So reasonable to see that they've pivoted down below.
So usually, I think the problem is when you're attacking Bunk and Daycare, a lot of teams don't want to just walk in Cafe. It's such a daunting prospect. And it kind of brings me back to a game that I was playing in ranked with the boys on Theme Park. We defended initiation every single defense because I was not satisfied. We kept losing it because we just couldn't stay inside Bunk and Daycare. We couldn't hold off the attack from clearing that side.
It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do, especially when that is right where the attackers are just trying to clear their way through. They're just trying to clear that extension. And even though we are downstairs and it won't play out the exact same way, there is still likely an extension to be cleared up above. Question is, does Butler want to just ignore that? Are they just going to send it into the site? Looks like they are, but it looks like they're also getting torn to shreds. Nateflix will pick up two there. Enham is now the last player standing, just like that. A classic lab and storage round if you've ever seen one. The moment the defenders pick this site, all attacking teams can do is think, oh, let's just rush.
I mean, just kind of a half-baked attempt there, and the timing was very unfavorable to them. When they jumped in storage window, there was plenty of coverage from inside of the right wall. There was plenty of defenders firing from lab, and it just did not allow Butler to get in there. So this should be a tie game, and Ham will go ahead and waste out the clock. He's been in this position before.
Yep. Just using this last minute and a half to maybe talk things over, take an essential tack timeout. Of course, the difference is it's not an actual tack timeout, so your coach can't chime in and try to, give you some additional info. But you're welcome to sit there with your five-man, with your players, and decide, okay, what can we do better next time? Because it's very possible that they're going to have to work out a better way to attack, right? Daycare and Bunk. We could still see that site one more time on round number 6. We also could see initiation in office, the site that we just mentioned a good bit. We still haven't seen that one yet, given that Butler won Throne and Armory attack twice. Not sure if we're going to see Ohio State go back there again.
That could be kind of a risky call. And one of the great things about LAN, about being here with all the players, is in these types of positions, just to glance over at the bench and see, what's it like? Are they happy? Is everyone frustrated? Can you see that? Or, is there constructive conversation that's going on here? 1v4, 20 seconds, just waiting for this one to wind down. So we'll get 2 more rounds left here of Butler on the offense. different animal for them so far. Gassed out, forced into the coverage from Mamba. And so the Buckeyes will be able to put together another one here, and we'll see how they decide to proceed for the rest of this.
They might be thinking, this is a completely different Ohio State that we're seeing, right? First 2 rounds, they did not look composed whatsoever. But honestly, I'd say that they're finally finding their stride in the mid-round, but they're still playing the same game in general, right? This has been an aggressive team that is eager to take these opening engagements, and in those opening duels, they have been successful 4 of 4 times. That is where their best stat has been. They are flawless on the entry, in some cases getting more than just the 1 entry kill. They are so good right now at denying Butler from making early headway. And even though Butler won the first 2 rounds, they had to kind of get scrappy. They had to really scrape those out, just barely. So Butler technically still have a lot of work to be done here. We are going back to Throne. We are going back to Armory, where Butler have been successful. But if OSU Grace just start this round out strong again, maybe a little bit more discipline, maybe a little bit more patience in the mid-round like we saw in round 3, in round 4, could give them the win here.
It feels to me like OSU Gray are a lot of times getting caught by themselves on the roam, and maybe in the past games that they've played, they've been able to find success from that just by, winning those duels, by anticipating the next move of their opponent. However, right now, Butler have been pretty well on top of that, and it's largely to be credited to the Monty, who's been able to move in and deny those opportunities for a defender to just jump in and really get it started. Castle Barricade in the way shouldn't be too much trouble. They've got one playing top arcade, though, and it looks like that's the Goyo ready to take a challenge.
The Vulcan canister detonation, the Castle Barricade opened up, gave him a pretty clear idea of what was going on. Gravy was sitting around the other side, looking towards top arcade, but Mamba just outgunned the Ash. So another good back. This is a problem with bringing the Monty. One that defenders now decreased from 4 to 3. So you've got a 3v5 fighting force, but you do have the helpful shield to give you some intel and to clear your path.
There's a confrontation about to come forward. Mamba nearly had another snatch and grab. He's in a bit of a rough patch. Needs to stay mobile here, but on the move around, just can't make it through the rotate. So they will get the trade. It's been kind of a log 5 rounds, and he has just been out in
entry roll. It happens, though. It comes in waves. Bound to see him find his stride eventually. Look at this.
Gets rid of their hard breacher too. However, Toaster is not going to be able to get away with that one. Big Boosh under cover. There should be somebody coming around the backside. That's Jonesy. Doesn't want to give away his position. No! It'll be the Castle to get it done. Big Boosh. What there? That is terrifying. Familiar on these players working their way in initiation. Knows there's somebody in bathroom as well, but walks right into Gravy, who claims his first kill. Scoreboard, but making so much impact in round number 6 exactly when he needs to. 4v2. Big Boosh and Netflix now feeling the pressure. Big Boosh stuck, in fact, in Office Vault. Probably doesn't have an easy way to get out of here once Butler identified this position. But the question is, are they aware of it? They surely would. It would be a major miscalculation for them to misplay this. Big Boosh totally understood now. Gravy in the DEFCON 1 situation is able to really fire up for the rest of his roster. That missing component able to get almost all the work done. Where was this Gravy earlier? Wow, 4 kills out of nowhere from 0 and 5 to 4 and 5, just like that. I mean, what a way to flip the switch and to bounce back, because just like that, with that performance and with some good coordination there from Butler, they have tied us up 3-3. This is still anyone's game, but for Butler, I'd say they've done their job and a little bit more. You get 2 rounds, job done. You get 3 rounds, that's just a bonus on the attacking side. All they've got to do is stay composed and start rattling off these defenses. Well, now we have the Monty on the other side. It'll be Big Boosh, the player who decides to bring the big shielded operator. One of your main firepower players. Bringing a shield always raises a few eyebrows, but Big Boosh is someone that I've known to play the Monty at least every now and then, and he can deliver at that same level on the occasion. It's pretty much a repeat of what we had last round, but this time featuring the Doc, a Big Chi. Now, it was Jonesy who had brought the Doc earlier, so everybody gets a turn with the MP5.
Everyone gets a turn to get stimmed up out of their mind as well with the Doc Stim pistol. Right, gotten buffed recently. Extra powerful now if you use those well. And, you know, it always gives a defensive team a little bit more comfort, maybe allows you to be a little bit more free on that roam, allows you to take a couple of bullets here and there. As long as they're not landing on your head, you should be in a pretty good position to heal yourself back up, get back in the fight, and kind of hit that reset button in the middle of the round. So maybe that's what Butler are hoping to do, what Big Chi is hoping to do, as he likely hopes to tack on a few more kills and continue to find their stride here. But Butler continuing with this setup as Ohio State begin to work their way onto the roof and into this map.
Well, the one interesting note they've changed here, they got a castle barricade on double, and they've opened up the wall, whereas OSU Gray had it both reinforced and they had a mute chamber to stop it, which enables that long line of sight, makes it a bit more challenging to get in here. And that's what I mean by Big Boosh. That's what I mean right there. Almost cost him his life, though. Takes a major beat down. There's no Doc on his team's side to go ahead and give the stim back, so he's going to rethink that decision, and this is that critical element that I was speaking of. That long power out to the balcony comes back around and actually gets rid of the Doc.
Well, Big Chi will be the first to fall. Can't revive himself there. Nateflix will get the next one. Jonesy's gone too. Mamba's been felled, but now picked back up. So this one is a 5v3. These smokes coming out very early, still a full 90 seconds. Ohio State, they don't have to push into this smoke. They don't have to worry about this too much, given the cushion that they have in terms of the time, given the 6 drones they still have remaining.
Oh, I hope they've got a drone for this. Gravy is lying in wait. A great use of the Monty to get alive onto Enham. Gravy now understood here, and he's not going to be able to escape. Mamba propping up another one left to Raikai in the 1 versus 4. Butler, their first showing here on defense, has not really gone according to plan. Losing body after body with no feasible way to get any kind of trades back. Raikai, it's going to be a tough one with the Monty up, but he starts it up by removing the shielded operator. It'll be the attacker inside office to return to cover.
Mama and Nateflix are technically pretty low HP here, and he's already taken care of Toaster with a clean headshot. Just has to find 2 more. Couple of body shots will do. The only problem for Raikai is he, as the Jaeger, is on a sliver of HP as well. 30 seconds to delay here. 30 seconds to stall. 2 kills to find. Not impossible, but his position is known. Needs to be careful. Needs to get a little bit less active here, because the moment that Ohio State spot him out, he is surely gone. Nateflix gets this plant down, though. And now Raikai has to step up, has to swing into the waiting arms of Mamba, but he gets one. Almost lines up the head on the second, but misses the shot by a hair. Just barely behind the bomb chassis. Nateflix almost exposed himself to that angle, but Ohio State, they managed to hang in. The clutch from Raikai denied.
Another heart-pounding clutch attempt that fails at the very final hurdle. Good attempt by Raikai, but on that last target could not train down the recoil of the 416. And a solid performance there at the end, but also to kick off the round for Nateflix, having that long bomb shot that he got against the player in waiting, and additional kills, I believe, against one that was inside of office. So Nateflix all around a solid contributor there to the success. Butler are going to say something went wrong. That doesn't typically happen. They'll reattempt bringing Goyo instead of the Doc, still have range. Got Valkyrie, a little bit of intel there as well.
I like the pick here of the Goyo, because we saw Butler a little bit worried about how quickly Ohio State were getting into the map. The reason I say that, we could identify that worry by how quickly the smoke was throwing out his toxic canisters. The moment Ohio State got into the map, the moment that they kind of showed their face in bathroom, the smoke was like, oh God, let me delay this. Let me throw some smokes at them. The right idea, yes, but that's valuable utility that you might prefer to use in the late round to deny the plant. Bringing out these Vulcan canisters allows you to have multiple different ways to slow down the attack, having that area denial with the fire. to compound that of the gas, that of Enham, and what he's bringing to the table should be a pretty good way to stay a bit more calm on the site and save that utility and those additional 2C4s for a bit later.
Especially with Monty in play, can never have too many explosives. Although last time Big Boosh nearly did himself in just by trying to kind of battle with his opponents. He's not a player that likes to sit and wait. He likes to be involved, whether it's on the offense or on the defense. Of course, we've all seen how his cap can goes, and Big Boosh taking nearly, about more than half of his health off. And again, I think that's leading into your point that Butler really are kind of afraid of the speed of OSU Gray. They want to wait and hold them back with those gadgets.
And it's working. It's working beautifully right now. Only bummer there, I think, was the C4 usage from below. Just not as effective as ever, but they closed the door on both Big Boosh and Mamba at the same time. Mamba caught with his pants down, sprinting around outside, lost the fight there to the Valkyrie, and Big Boosh falls up above due to that very pressure. It's a 3v5, and Ohio State have lost the edge here. Butler, with their effective adjustments, have taken the advantage.
Really in a solid position, forces OSU Gray kind of into the field a little bit, not sure about how they're going to recover because this strat is just tuned up a little bit better, and that's one of the big credits I think you can give to Butler for how they've played so far. Understanding what adjustments are necessary and implementing them without a second thought.
Does he have another Vulcan canister? He does. So a lot of comfort here for Jonesy looking towards the bathroom. Same thing goes for Big Chi. He doesn't have to worry too much about his flanks because he's got Gravy to support that position in security. Butler right now have a ton of map control to play with, and Jonesy, he's feeling comfortable, he's feeling confident, and he's going to take a couple of gunfights. Picks up another one onto Nadeflix before eventually getting traded out. It is that 4v2 though, still favoring Butler, make that a 4v1 as Big Chi will put the nail in the coffin for Ohio State. It's all up to Z-Jock in waiting room in the middle of these defenders. It is the Frost at the long-range gunfight here from Top Dragon to eventually do him in, but a very well-constructed round from Butler through and through.
Well, through the first half, Z-Jock and Gravy, both players had trouble getting going. Eventually, Gravy was able to figure out the formula. However, Z-Jock has just been sort of left behind, had a decent level of success, and was getting things done on Chalet from time to time. However, not able to really achieve that. And it's just the final piece that OSU Gray have been missing. Everybody else is getting a certain amount of involvement. Big Boosh, maybe not the same level that you would typically expect, but if he and Z-Jock were able to work together, I can almost guarantee you it would benefit both of them statistically in improving the way that they've been able to approach this one. So for theme, tied up, Rome play here, and we'll get the Oryx, we'll get the top floor look from Butler.
A little bit more flexibility with that Oryx allows Gravy to really take advantage of this map and how simply huge it is. How much maneuverability he has as an operator in combination with the maneuverability that this map allows. Really, the map is his oyster. The world is his oyster. Nothing he can't do if he puts his mind to it. OSU, without the Jackal, right, that earlier ban, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for them to track down someone pesky like the Oryx. But again, they do have Big Boosh on the Monty. If they send him in the building first, if they spot out Gravy, as long as Big Boosh isn't alone, as long as there's somebody behind him to support him, Gravy should be taken care of. No problem. But the support, again, for Ohio State is going to be essential.
Well, OSU Gray hoping that they can improve on their urgency a little bit because so far today it really has been a big missing element for them. Something that they have had in spades in previous games today seems behind the curve. It seems like Big Boosh maybe respecting his opponent a little bit more than he typically does. We haven't seen a lot of those moments where Big Boosh just sort of wanders into a treasure chest. That's been gone today, and we'll see if he continues on the Monty. If he doesn't find success here, Jonah, I think it's probably time to call it quits on that.
Oh, well, Jonesy, he had that angle. He was holding that for the duration. of the last, minute. Looked away at the wrong time, but eventually did a little bit of damage there to Big Boosh as he made the push. Big Cheese also got a nice little angle in waiting room behind this deployable shield to spot out the head potentially of Nadeflix here as they work their way through Cash. Some good early pressure being applied, and Jonesy, he could line one up, but instead it's Nadeflix who gets the kill, and Jonesy will be the first to fall. Ohio State, they'll get on the board first.
Well, that's something, credit to them, but Gravy is still kind of getting things done piecemeal here.
It's a big kill.
Removing Big Boosh, staying in the line of fire as we often expect him to, just not having the firepower to be able to make it past. OSU Gray not doing great on time here, but with the wall open, that's kind of your opportunity. They're going to just continue to pour on the gas from Enham, which is going to leave him probably about 25 seconds, or maybe not, as he's been picked off by Z-Jock, a player who needs a moment like this.
Nades coming into the site. The final explosive will sing, but it will not find its target. Butler still hanging in. Big Cheese gone, though, so it's going to be Raikai and Gravy to hold this one down themselves. Good long angle there from Raikai. A second one potentially in his line of sight, but he just misses the shot he needed. Player trying to work their way in Dragon Door, trying to sneak in and find that surprise kill. But right now the coverage trying to deny Gravy from making that push, and it will work. Gravy really went for the miracle there. The Rima dash straight towards the planter, but Nadeflix on the coverage denies it, and Ohio State, they continue to put some rounds together. It's 5-4, they're up by 1.
It really feels like kind of a similar situation to what we had in Chalet, except it's just a little bit swapped in the first half. It was a little closer than what we got, but still these two teams putting round in between round and kind of going neck and neck, back and forth. It'll be Butler to try Armory again, kind of similar to what OSU Gray had done. They tried it back-to-back. It didn't work until they finally got to it on the third try near the end of the first half. And, just from that last round, I don't feel like they accomplished maybe as much as I would have liked on the top floor. And, when you're not involving the Azami when she's available, Throne can be kind of a weak spot. It's an area where very easily, with or without a Monty, you're going to be able to push forward.
Yeah, it's interesting that you actually point that out, because we saw Throne twice from the OSU defense. They lost it both times. The third time we saw it from them on round number 5, they were able to win it. But here it's, in theory, we're on our way to the similar pattern. OSU have already taken the first Throne. The defense has just not been thriving on what is typically the strongest bomb site on this map. I like the point you brought up there, Reese, that the Azami, not banned, it's just being underutilized on this map, on every single bomb site, but especially on Throne and Armory, where control of Throne itself can be so heavily dependent on those use of the Kiba barriers and your ability to just swing out from behind that cover and deny the push.
I think Azami is almost like a modern-day Mira in terms of her level of impact that she can have. She changes the map in a way that no other operators do. Usually other operators, they remove from the map. She adds to the map. She's able to add extra cover, weird angles, different quirky things like that, and it can really benefit them. Again, Butler are really using these Vulcans to their best effort. We'll see the detonation come on forward there. OSU Gray need to figure out something that they can do to try and improve on efficiency here, because you don't want to have to execute against Throne, with 45 seconds.
Right, one aspect that they might be bringing to do that is the fuse. Big Boost shifting over to the cluster charge wielding Russian instead of that Monty, which could, in theory, do exactly what you mentioned, Reese. Allow them to speed it up, deal with that utility, deal with those defenders, maybe getting those kills, or at the very least forcing them to back off. So it's a good adjustment. I'm interested to see exactly how he uses those cluster charges, because through the first 90 seconds, we haven't seen him take advantage of what could be a very powerful gadget.
Just checking in with you viewers, we do have an update from the bracket, little engagement there between the Fuse and the Frost. It was Utah to triumph over the Rockford Regents, and Cincinnati to find success over Florida Poly. I think both of those two results pretty expected in our very first round of play. So we've got just this game left in the initial round before we move to the next best of 3. Util, Denial, and the Wall to get open.
Maintenance dealt with. That's half the battle. If they want to pressure from the other side, they could easily try to get barrels open, but it's going to be tougher now that Big Boosh is gone. Not a single cluster charge sent off. The fuse, no real use, no real value on this particular round, and now Butler, they can move around a little bit freer. They know they've got a man advantage. Someone like Jonesy here playing in the yellow corridor could absolutely take advantage of a situation like this, but be careful though. Ohio State could put their finger on this quickly. Around the corner, it's Mamba. He may have known Jonesy was there, but it doesn't matter.
A perfect ace in the hole, and Gravy is still up above. The patience-ness might be just a little too much. It's only Nate Flicks left, and Butler, for the very first time in this series, will earn a flawless round of their own, bringing us once again to a tie game with a much better showing, getting rid of that crucial swapped operator of the fuse, another critical death without impact for Big Boosh, and a superior performance in terms of positioning. Instead of an Oryx Rima dashing out into open combat, it was players using cover and waiting for timings.
Timing was a lot better there. It's a good one to point out, right? Just making sure that they played that clock, that they waited for Butler, rather waited for Ohio State to come into them rather than the other way around. The combination of some good passive angles being held by someone like Gravy and really good use of those Vulcan canisters from Jonesy allowed some pretty efficient time delay, some good use of the intel from Big Chief, for example, right? Those black eye cameras, it was just textbook through and through. And round number 10, the kind of textbook performance required if you want to get a flawless round. We've seen some near flawless rounds from both teams, but we've also seen one flawless round, I believe, from each team at this point this series. And just like last map, this one is back and forth. Since Butler have shifted over to the defense, it was OSU to take a round, then Butler, then OSU, and then Butler again. So this one is back and forth, tied up at 5, going into the last 2 rounds of regulation.
Well, we'll wait for the admin call if a rehost does go through because of the drone bug that was encountered, so somebody will make a call, but in this situation, we just continue to play as normal until some decision does come down. So it'll be another round of bunks. Feels like probably the most played objective that we've had so far. No love given to initiation in office, of course, just because of the difficulty of fending off that double-sided pressure that can come against you. Such a tough element to try to hold back on. Butler feel pretty strongly about this lineup that they continue to bring. Gravy has flex between his Oryx and his Warden, and I feel like whether or not he's got the 1.5, he's been successful on both those either way.
Someone else who's been moving all over in terms of operator picks is someone like Big Boosh, who we've seen on the Monty, the Fuse, and now the Zofia, really trying to pick that operator that can get him the most success. Oh! Look at that timing. Raikai, he was running all over that top floor and just happened to land exactly where the frag grenade from Nate Flicks was placed at exactly, well, the right time for Ohio State or the wrong time as far as Butler is concerned. So it's OSU who get the opener. When we've seen them get the opener on the attack so far, they've been able to close it down and find the win. They just have to continue that momentum and not let some well-placed Vulcan canisters really burn off every single second from the clock.
You might have just seen the highlight of a player up on the rooftop just near that hatch. A great drop down from Gravy, able to get rid of Nate Flicks. But if that player is still on the hatch, that might just be something unexpected enough. I don't know if I've necessarily ever seen the drop. It looks like they pulled that guy back over to Cafe. In the meanwhile, Big Boosh is making something happen all by himself, just getting into break room.
Yeah, an isolated position and very dangerous, but if he's gone unnoticed, this could be incredibly powerful. Problem is, Big Boosh, his teammates are falling everywhere else. They're getting taken care of easily by Butler. This should be a nice surprise, and he'll pick up a free kill there onto Gravy, no problem. But now his position is known. He's staying mobile, though. He's trying to get into the face of Butler, and while it worked for Z-Jock, it won't work for Big Boosh the second time. The sledge now caught in the middle of the smoke, has to track down 2 defenders, finds one, but needs to find one more. Still 2 smokes in pocket for Enham, but only 15 seconds for Z-Jock.
So we'll see if Enham can just hide and hold off here. Z-Jock, if he tries the plant, It's going to be a really tough one. I think your best bet probably would be to get into bunks. He chooses not to. He's real close to the smoke. He'll get off the plant. There's not enough time. And so it will be Butler, the first team to arrive, not only on map point, but also series point after their extraordinary success, snatching their opponent's map pick earlier on Chalet.
Well, Ohio State, I really thought they had it in that round. They started off well, and then the play from Big Boosh, it didn't work out, but I'll admit I really thought it was going to. Yeah. I really thought that he had the surprise, right? Rappelled into break room, wasn't sure if that had been identified by Butler, and all he had to do was wait for one player to kind of rotate through the site, and he would have found a free kill, but that didn't happen. Instead, while Big Boosh was pressuring break, his teammates were working their way in from Cafe, from those yellow stairs, from the other side of the map, and that is where the problems happened. That's where they started to fall, and there was nothing that Big Boosh could do about it because, again, he was going for that high-risk, high-reward play. In this case, he dealt with the negative consequences of a play like that.
Giving you just a little bit of insight into what it's like to be here in person and a view behind the players who are fighting in this matchup. I honestly thought Big Boosh was about to have a turnaround type moment there where he just comes in on the backstab. I perhaps didn't expect that rotate. I honestly didn't even see it when he had moved in there initially as well. So it just caught him at a bad moment. It was a good call. But OSU Gray, they have not had nearly as much playmaking. I feel like a broken record saying this again and again. But they have not had, a quarter of the same star factor that they've had in a lot of their previous showings. Big Boosh has had games where he's dropped 20 kills this event. And this is just not one of them. And the problem is here, Jonah, this is the most important game before the rest of the games. Elimination on the line here if OSU Gray don't clean up their act.
I mean, that's what we're going to keep saying all day long, Reese. I mean, every single game is just more and more important because as you advance through the bracket, the stakes get higher. Your chance of making the combined playoffs on Monday, tomorrow, get higher. And, of course, it hurts even more if you were to lose and go home after making such a deep run. But here on our last round of regulation, OSU Gray trying their best to send us to OT for the second map in a row. And, of course, Butler trying their hardest to stop that from happening. Gravy back to the Oryx. Jonesy pivoting over to the Aruni as we see initiation in office for the first time this map.
This is kind of a good try. I like this. It's a risky one, but Butler know if they're backed up, they're pushed into overtime instead of a pure loss. And maybe it's something that's good enough. Maybe OSU Gray spent that TAC timeout thinking about how they were going to attack Throne or how they were going to attack Lab and Storage, when instead it's been the Bulldogs' decision to give us initiation on this objective. It is my opinion that the opening battle for control of this side of the map can sometimes determine the entire way that it's going to shake out. You have C4, so there is a conversation of denial, but that's only within office when a lot of times the end game for teams attacking this is in the initiation side where most of the floor is concrete.
Gravy tucked close in break room, knows there's someone on the rappel. Gonna get aggressive, but he just misses the shot.
Don't do it, Gravy.
He's going to go for it. He jumps out, but that is incredibly predictable. Once his position was revealed, Big Boosh had no problem closing the door on him. Now Big Cheese going to fight an uphill battle here, as will Butler as a whole. But Nateflix, even though there was a drone on the Valkyrie's position, Nateflix will expose himself to that very angle. Big Boosh, though, he answers.
Big Boosh is having a bit of a turnaround. This is his round. Able to get up there with a triple kill, and so far OSU Gray are in command of clearing the extension. Absolutely on top of it. Only left to Raikai, who had the earlier clutch attempt when he was on the Jaeger. Has a great ability to whittle down the targets. Over aggression from Big Boosh. Thought it was going to be a 4K round. Instead for him, it ends on just 3.
Raikai hoping to isolate these 1v1s, but also hoping not to get spotted out by a drone. Unfortunately, the latter will happen, and he will not be able to deal with that piece of information. Knowing where he is now, Toaster will pivot to the other side, getting this bomb down. No problem there as Zjock and Mamba sit still on the coverage. Holding these long angles, knowing where the mute has to retake from. Raikai slams Toaster and gets the first, but 2 more to find around the other side. Starting to dwindle on low HP. You've got Zjock close, rather Mamba close around the other side of this doorway, and Raikai simply did not have the wherewithal to check that. So Ohio State, they've done their job. We are going to OT yet again.
Another OT. It's going to probably be a day of overtime games with how close of a competition level we've had here inside of the Columbus LAN through group stages here at our venue on the campus of The Ohio State University. We've only had one team go undefeated, and that was Joe's University of Maryland, Baltimore County, that managed to go flawless and win out through their day of play yesterday. And so as we step into overtime here, I think OSU Gray are kind of feeling a little bit better. Big Boosh is approaching, is almost getting to positive. Mamba, a good moment for him there, knowing the perfect position to hide out in, guaranteeing that there would be no Butler clutch and that there would indeed be overtime.
Funny that Big Boosh found the winning play of the round in the same position that he was unable to win the round just one round prior, right? Swinging into break room, leveraging that powerful room to get something going there. But instead, it will be Big Boosh now looking to get something going once more.
So we'll see how this one does end up. I mean, Butler, just the same defense that they brought, the same scheme. If it ain't broke, I guess don't really try to fix it. I'm really looking to Gravy to have a big performance this round. Big She was solid as well when he had played on the Chalet game earlier, and he had that kind of tentativeness where he knew when it was time to get things done. However, for OSU Gray, they're all kind of doing about the same amount of work. It's not been one player over the other. And on attack, sometimes that can be beneficial when you need to just get everybody in, accomplish all the jobs, and reach the end of the workday.
All these Vulcan canisters getting in the way of Ohio State once again. Just slowing things down as they begin to make their early entry, and Gravy doing what Gravy does best. Working his way around the other side of the top floor, waiting for his opportunity to strike. The difference is this time, he appears to have been spotted out. Nateflix will be rotating over towards that Dragon window. Big Boosh on the top of that hatch will try to spot the Oryx, but cannot deal with him before he sneaks back to the site below. Great job from Gravy to get away just in the nick of time.
He might just determine that it's best to play on site. He's got the ability to jump up a hatch, maybe goes out towards barrels if he really wants to get back up and help the rest of the team. That's why Oryx is such a valuable operator. They're going to move again to open the wall. Nothing you can do really much to stop that as soon as the exothermic will go. Of course, the Vulcan will detonate as well. And so the fire does maybe a few ticks of damage onto Mamba. They send gas again. I've seen this consistently where Butler just used util at will. Big She, and there's Jonesy. OSU Gray, a crucial misplay as they lose 2 men. And there might be a third in the works here as this Iana is solo challenging with neither of her 2 teammates.
Yeah, this 1v1 could go either way. I mean, you've got Big Boosh in a similar position up by security, just trying to make something happen here and eventually winning that engagement against Big Chi, but that's not enough to equalize. Butler are still up by 1. Jonesy is still fighting this aggressively. I'd say it's probably about time to back on off, but still, Jonesy will take this fight C4 in hand and gets absolutely pummeled. Big Boosh will be happy to take that free kill as it was presented to him, and now we're back in an even 3v3 with this one still anyone's game.
Big Boosh has finally arrived at positive, but there's that play. Surely they expect this. It's happened before. No, not again. Big Boosh and Mamba both going down. Toaster falls too. And even though it looked like Big Boosh had salvaged it, doesn't go that way. And it's another round snatched up and another opportunity for Butler to close out.
I mean, that one got a little bit dicey towards the end, but it's the same position, that yellow corridor right in that 90 hall where Butler have exploited Ohio State on several occasions now. And OSU just still haven't made that proper adjustment. Such a powerful position when the attack gets tunnel visioned on the site. That's the exact problem that OSU just experienced despite their success and Big Boosh's impact that he was able to make on the top floor. Butler, their early aggression, those entry kills were so impactful. And then they made just a blatant miscalculation. Instead of backing off and playing time, they decided to just send more bodies at Ohio State. Technically, you could have said, okay, it was working, let's keep doing it. But listen, when you've got a 5v3, keep that 5v3. Stay in that substantial advantage and set yourself up for success later. At the end of the day, it didn't matter. Butler still took the round. But if they want to take this attack, if they want to just take this one right here and prevent going to round 15, they got to be a little bit more composed than that.
How in that situation do you not expect the Dragon Hall flank? I mean, it's not like something nobody has done this game. Both teams have tried it. And last time, when it was Butler defending on Throne, Mamba had expected it. He was on that Thatcher, and he rotated over to Gong to look and expect it. I guess he just got afraid because last time he died doing it. So he said, instead, let's all just be ignorant of this flank. And it opened up a 2K that totally changed it. Incredibly instrumental there. And so on such a big round like this one, for the OSU great defense, will end up going lab storage and a bit of an extension into trophy, which is good to see. However, last time we went here, Jonah, not John, Butler tried to rush it, so they don't have any real experience on this objective.
Right. This is a ballsy call from OSU to go to this site, but they can take some comfort in the fact that technically, they never really saw that Butler knows how to attack this site. They just tried to go for the all-out rush.
Yeah.
They didn't go for the methodical play. And so as far as OSU is concerned, in theory, that could mean that Butler simply do not know how, and they don't have a composed strat to take care of this site. If that's the case, OSU should have no problem with this round. But it does seem that Butler, since they're not rushing again, they do have some sort of plan in mind, and that is top floor control.
And when I see a team rush on an objective like that with no visible sign of a big weakness, it makes me think that they don't know what they're wanting to do, that they haven't really dry ran it too much. However, as they start this out, I like what they're doing. Control of the top floor, fundamentals are here, the vertical is in progress, and they're making sure that these players down below aren't just going to have, safe harbor.
Trying to make these defenders scramble around if they can, taking care of some utility if they can. But really nothing else will come to pass from this vertical control. No one spotted out. We do see a couple of Z-pings flying around, but not a single bit of damage done to the defense just yet. This is where the transition matters.
Ow.
This is where the impact can really be found from Butler, but instead it's Big Boosh and Toaster. It's Ohio State to get on the scoreboard first.
Critical kill there against Big Boosh, but it's going to cost them. They lose execute power, don't have Jonesy for the logic bomb. Sledge's vertical was pretty much done by then. Big She looking to see if he might be able to step up. Gravy there as well. It's 2 on site with a little bit of extra extension sent away. The Malusi able to catch one, but on the refrag comes in Raikai. Long bomb. The SMG-11 will travel and leaves it to Gravy, setting us up for a potential 15th round because Gravy's mandate is pretty much non-existent. We'll look for the rotate, but he's probably going to have to walk into that Banshee. I don't think they ever cleared it, and he's going to go ahead and wave the white flag here in round number 14. The call to go to lab and storage ended up being the right decision.
Great choice from Ohio State. They made a similar read as we did, Reese. They decided, okay, if Butler decided to just rush the site last time, even though we were ready for it, that must mean they just don't want to attack that site proper. They don't know the best way to go about that. And frankly, that's kind of what we saw there from Butler. On a broad level, they knew what they needed to do. Get vertical control and open up the floor. But everybody knows that's what you got to do. What comes next is the problem. How do you pivot to that execute phase? Where do you want to make that entry? Do you want to go over towards that bathroom side and pressure storage? Are you going to walk in that lab double door and try to pressure from there? How do you deal with the Throne and Armory players? There's still so much that you've got to get down, so much to understand and deal with that Butler simply neglected. So they're going to chalk that round up to simply not knowing how to play that site, and OSU are happy to secure it. But now both teams, I mean, we're going the distance. We're going to max OT, round 15. Butler have already won one defensive round, but they've got to pick another site. They can't go to Throne again, so they're going to go to Bunk and Daycare for the 4th time in order to try to win this map.
Yeah, Bunk and Daycare has been played just religiously by both of these rosters. Definitely their primary, just because of the solidity of that extension and the defensibility, the way that you can hold out here. There's many opportunities for good team play moments. Toaster is going to bring in the Ying, and you've got Mamba on Osa, 2 wild additions, but operators that I could see slotting into this. The Warden can serve as a little bit of a counterplay to that Ying. However, Gravy, I don't know if he's always been the one that's in the extension.
I do love this operator change. A little bit surprising that we're seeing it happen now, and we didn't even see an inkling of this earlier. But yeah, the Ying and Osa combo can be lethal if Butler don't know it's coming. At any point now, Ohio State, once they get this vertical established, once they get some semblance of control, those Candelas, we're going to see those thrown out. We're going to see these Osa shields utilized to get these long angles and to take these heads-up fights with these defenders. Utility already pouring in, and Gravy, the Warden, starting to feel that impact. His shield gone. His glasses, now the only thing that can save him.
Yes, again, we're looking to Big Boosh, see if he might be able to cook up on this round. Chasing in for the drone. Careful on this call, Jonesy. Don't want to give away your life. Thought that was a real person maybe for a moment, but no. Just Nate flicks on the replicators, seeing if he can snatch any kind of information. A call for Jonesy maybe to pull out and just play from the reinforcement. Seems like an odd one. The time isn't great for the defense. However, with OSU Gray not wanting to get in the building seemingly, maybe that ends up working for the Bulldogs either way.
Yeah, look at the time that's been wasted right now. OSU have made very little progress. They are still on the balcony. They are still outside of this map, and there are only 60 seconds remaining in this round. Finally, you've got some sort of pressure from Big Boosh insecurity. You've got some players down below, but it is time for Ohio State to step up. They're going to do that now with Big Boosh getting the first. A misplaced Candela will blind Big Boosh and slow him down a little bit, but a perfectly placed C4 from Jonesy, and then the follow-up onto the player trying to push in lockers. This could be the play that wins the round for Butler. If Jonesy comes out on top of this, it could be over.
This has got to be the moment. It's Nate Flicks on the challenge forward. Oh, here's the flank for Big Chi. He waltzes in, and Butler will clean up. It took him 30 rounds, but only 2 maps to get the win. They wrap them both up with a nice Butler bow, 8-7 on both, and they go ahead and put down the Buckeye B team here in Columbus.
The home team goes home. Thankfully, they don't have to go very far. They can just go across the street to their dorms. But other than that, Butler will be moving on. Happy to take the back-to-back 8-7 victory here in this first best of 3 of the day. But Reese, what an awesome matchup. Right, Chalet and Theme, and they went crazy. Back and forth, neither of these teams willing to give the other an edge. And then it just came down to adapting. It just came down to, you could argue, the fact that Butler got to defend in OT both times, right? That is how close this game was. Those small subtleties, those little things that you do round after round impact the series as a whole.
And it was after map number 1 when we went to take our break. I took a walk by the Butler bench, and they said DOT. They knew it just as well as we both knew it. And Butler able to persevere in probably one of the biggest tests for them so far this event. OSU, great commiserations to them. They played a fantastic game. It was more than just a Big Boost show today. Everybody was eaten up. But at the end, there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser.
And Butler is moving on. They will be looking forward to the round of 8 as they've got to get through 2 more rounds of bracket play if they want to get their spot locked in for the combined playoffs tomorrow. Again, we're going to have 2 teams moving on from this venue, making it into our combined playoffs. 4 teams from our Hilliard venue, which has more players at it. 4 teams making it through to that combined playoff. So much more Siege to play. We've got a lot more best of 3s coming your way right after this one. And thank you for tuning in to Open Off the Morning. If you're one of our dedicated viewers who popped up this stream to support these teams, to support this event, we want to thank you so much for that. And we want to let you know that we've got so much more Siege to play. Our next best of 3, I think another round of 16 game will be coming at you in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
He isolates the Kaid, able to go for 1 tap. It's gonna be another 1 tap for him. It's gonna be the ace.
Flies, gets owned. He gets 2. Are you kidding? But look at where Predator's playing at. He's coming in right from behind. That's 4 for Predator. Play, here comes Cancun. He spots the Ash. He gets the Nomad as well. Ace, Ice Cold runs up above. He needs to find the last one. And Ice Cold, what a shot!
Getting 1, now getting 2. Looking for 2 more. They're going to line up for him, and he's going to get it. Meat stick out of